stop and rest. Just
And you put 10-pound boots on it.
I know that's part of it. Yeah, put those boots on. I haven't talked to Commissioner Waterman. He did call me yesterday and find out. Was asking what time we would call the meeting off if we're going to call it off today, and I said we usually talk with the sheriff and the.
You can call him. Yeah, you can call him on the phone, but don't kick the order.
You didn't hear from Harley, did you?
Nope.
Jody will make it today.
Jody. Okay.
Yeah, Harley, we are having a commission meeting, you know. Okay, sounds good. If he calls, let him know we're having a meeting. Yep, right. He's not in town, or he's not at the shop, so he said he's still at his farm trying to dig out. Whatever that means.
We got a quorum.
Not quite. Just about.
6:59. Maybe that's why we're a little early. Our clocks are wrong.
Somebody, look at the weather, looks right.
Yeah.
Weather looks right.
Somewhere.
Yeah, no, it looks like 24 degrees.
We are good. Yeah, it's 9 o'clock. Yeah.
Take that weather.
It's out. One of these days I'll get it there.
It is 9.
Good morning, everyone, and it's a nice snowy morning this morning on March 6th, but we are going to conduct our weekly Cudahy County Commissioner Board of Directors meeting as usual. We'll open the meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance, and I'll lead it this morning. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Couple of housekeeping chores. If you have a cell phone, please shut it off or silence it. If you do get a call that you need to take, please step out in the rotunda so you don't disrupt the meeting. Also, this meeting is being streamed live, and if you would wish to address the board, just knowing that you will be streamed as well.
Make a motion.
We have a motion
To
by
approve
Hatton
the
to
agenda.
approve the agenda, a second by Commissioner Lee, and I would say that we will have an item for the executive session, Cindy's request. That would be number 3 on your agenda. Also, is there anyone, I know Jim Besco is here, he'd like to address the board during the open. Is there anyone else?
I would like to. Keith Schick.
Excuse me?
Keith Schick is my name. I would like to.
Okay, so we have a couple of people that would like to address and we
think there'll
possibly
be
will
one
have
more,
some
I
more
think.
that will come later that would like to visit with the board. So just keep that in mind for time's sake. Okay, we have a motion, a second. Any other comments? Seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries. Minutes of the February
Move to
27th
approved as
meeting.
emailed.
We have a
Second.
motion by Hatton, a second by Van Duzen to approve the minutes. Any additions or corrections? Any comments? Any comments? Not seeing none. Anyone? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries. All right, number 4 on the agenda is discussion action of selection of a consultant for the 2018 bridge inspections. Rick, that's your baby?
Good morning.
Good morning,
Rick.
Rick.
Will be a change this year. For the last several years, we've had Austin Engineering of Watertown do it. This year, I've know that the gentleman that did the bridge inspection for Austin Engineering changed employment. I contacted Rod at Austin Engineering and asked what their plans were for bridge inspection, and never did get back to me. So my recommendation is to go with Banner Associates Incorporated. They're out of Brookings, Millbank, and Sioux Falls. Like I say, the gentleman that'll do them is Mark Junker. He's done our bridge inspections for the last 15 years.
I'll make that motion.
We have a motion by Hatton, second by Gable. Any discussion?
And-
Price-wise, same deal?
Yeah, and they're approved by the state. They put in a bid to the state. There's a list of 22 of them, and they're on the list, so it should be fine. They, like I say, they do put in a bid per hour for a two-man team and so forth. Goes in line with the state. The state makes up the list, and they're on it. So.
All right.
Okay, any more questions for Rick?
Rick, yesterday morning, we had a semi crash up on I-29 that hit a bridge up there. Was there any structural damage to the bridge?
No, it's, I drove it and looked at it. I didn't see any. That's actually a state bridge.
Okay.
But it goes over our County Road 6 is on that. But the state itself is actually a state bridge. But in fact, we were up there. I never heard it on the radio on the two-way and got up there, and there's a semi laying on its side. But there was the sheriff was already there, deputy was already there. But
It was a mess.
yeah, it was a mess, yeah. And it was one of those deals, we had white, the ground was white and the roads were white in this area, and they weren't quite as slick, but when you got to that Waverly area, the roads looked dry, but I tell you, they weren't dry.
Yeah,
It was
yeah.
black ice is what it was. And in fact, there was 3 semis that ended up in a short stretch of road there that were in the ditch or on their side.
We have a motion, a second on the floor to accept Banner and Associates as the company that will do the bridge inspections for us. Any more discussion? Seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All same sign, motion carries.
Just another little heads up before we move on. I did meet with associates of Dakota Range Wind and Apex Energy. They stopped at my office, attorney, 4 gentlemen and a young lady, and they did present me with a copy of what they would like us to use for approach permits, overweight permits, and so forth. And I told them I would review them, and my recommendation, I'll look them over, I'll bring them to the commission, and I'll also send a copy to the state's attorney, and I think she needs to sign off on it and look at it too. It's substantially more to their agreement than there are to our agreement, so I think we better look at them. When I questioned them what they were looking for, construction, they're looking for 2020 construction, and it would be 16 turbines in Cottington County, 13 of them would be in Germantown, and 3 would be in Leola, north and west of Waverly mainly.
Good. Anything else for Rick? How the plows, they went by my place this morning early, and looks like they're working. How,
That's, some places it's kind of eluding bad. We were out yesterday, like I say, with that ice right away. We went out right away, and we're out all day. We had one plow go in the ditch. One of the newer plow drivers, just in a whiteout, and you can't see the road. You can't see the road. He went in the ditch, but just a simple pull him out, and we only had one other breakdown. We had a motor grader break a hydraulic hose, and they're up and going again. So, and they're out again. Looks like we'll be out there all day again.
yep.
Rick, would you mind like emailing those easements that they have, that they're proposing, and then like ours also, so we can all just
In
kind of take
fact,
a peek
yeah,
at
I
it?
can do that.
If you want to bring them to me, I can send them out.
Okay.
too.
Okay, I'll do that.
That
I'll
works.
bring them in, and I'll bring a copy of ours. And like I
Yeah.
say, ours are virtually individual ones. Theirs lumps, pretty much lumps the approach permits, the utility underground permits, and overweight into one item. There's a couple items, I've just started reviewing them. There's a couple items. To me, it seems like they're trying to own the agreement. I think maybe they should be rewritten a little bit so that the county actually owns the agreement, that they're signing off
Yeah.
on a county agreement instead of the county
County
signing
signing on
off on
theirs.
their agreement.
Agree.
That's just my preliminary thoughts when I started looking at it.
Okay.
Good, thank you.
Good, thanks, Rick.
Thank you, Rick.
Appreciate it. All right, let's go on to reports then, number 5. Jody will not be here this morning, I understand.
Yes, that's correct.
Al is here, though, Veteran Service. Good morning, Al.
Morning now.
Good morning,
Good.
Al. Good, thanks.
Yeah. Yeah, more
Day
time,
off?
more so.
Here you go.
I
Al.
wasn't here in January, so I'll give that.
Al, there. Oh, it's
I
okay.
apologize.
You're
I
fine.
wasn't here in January, so I'll give that report too real quick. We had 76 appointments and walk-ins for January, 4 trips to Sioux Falls with 10 riders. February, we had 73 appointments or walk-ins and 5 trips to Sioux Falls with 10 riders. The only other thing that I have on the, that I'd like to ask you about is having the office closed on April 2nd, and that's the day we move. So if we can do that and advertise that ahead of time, so that,
April 2nd,
right,
Moving
that's
the
our
date.
schedule, that's our scheduled move date.
probably a good
Well,
idea to close
That
the
is
office.
going to be a
Actually-
holiday anyways,
Actually,
right?
it's the governor is granting the day after Easter off, and we
Yeah.
follow what the state does,
Oh, okay.
so we are closed
On the
per
2nd.
policy unless the board makes a change, we are closed.
Well, I'd say, I'm not on the board, but I think we should close.
Well, I think that's going to take care of itself, isn't it?
Okay, so
That's-
when will the move happen, then, on the 3rd?
Well, we talked a while about it. You have until about probably mid-April. before
Okay.
Anything would start, so, there's some flexibility in that.
Sure, okay. I
But
appreciate it.
regardless, I think that we could maybe talk about that right now. If you move the 3rd, on moving day, you probably aren't capable of handling walk-ins or anything anyway, so maybe it'd be a good idea to authorize the closure the day of the
Well,
move.
he maybe wants to wait and see, like, we have a little more time. I'd say we better wait and pinpoint a date.
Sure, yeah, that's fine, but
But I think that's
I-
something that we can plan on.
Sure.
I mean, I can't imagine you moving and trying to,
No, especially getting the computer set up and everything. and-
Yep.
Yep, and the phone lines.
You
Yep.
just won't be rushed that way. You thought it had to be by that date,
Right.
so, okay.
all right,
Okay,
thank
thanks.
you.
You bet.
Thank you, Al. I see Steve is here, weed supervisor. Good morning, Steve.
Good morning.
You're not spraying this morning, huh?
Moving snow. Well, let's see if we start off. I guess the past month, had my weed meeting on Wednesday, and so we had pretty decent turnout. I don't know what your guys' thoughts were, and so we had
Good
on it.
information. Yeah, it was good. I thought.
Had done some commercial applicators recertification throughout the month, farm show, and didn't have time to put notes all together.
No electronics.
Short week, right?
Steve, you did get an award at
Oh,
your
I guess, yes.
annual meeting.
You didn't bring
I-
your plaque?
I didn't bring my plaque, and so we had too busy thinking about moving snow this morning. Yes, I did get outstanding supervisor award this year at the conference.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much. Thanks
job.
to the surrounding counties for submitting it and stuff. So I appreciate that. And I guess also, and so I didn't inform last month was in January I did start working on the easements on the right-of-ways and so and I didn't realize how much of a, I knew it was going to be a big thing, but I didn't realize how much a big a thing this thing is. So it will take some time and so and we'll have to probably sit down and figure out what some of them are missing, and either register deeds or even in the highway shop. So I don't know what the proposal will be. We'll have to probably talk to the attorney and all that for those kind of legalizations. So,
Landowners probably have them and never recorded them.
and that's very possible, and so and stuff. So, I know that issue was brought up on
Wouldn't,
Wednesday, so.
the state, wouldn't they have copies if it's a state highway? If
State
it's
does,
state, they
I'm just
would.
looking at
the
really
county.
at the county.
Right.
And so that is all I'm really looking at and stuff, so, yeah. It was first going into it, I didn't know exactly how to approach and going into it and so that, and then after being in the register of deeds, how everything is put in the books, then you learn, okay, we got to reorganize and go through these things, different approach, and I've pretty well, I got one, just about got one range and township done and so that on that part, so.
Are you doing well? I was looking at just a mile stretch north of Watertown here a while back, and I was down in the equalization office, and within that mile, there's 4 different setbacks.
Yes, there
And
is.
it just depended on how much
But-
they wanted to pull in to build the road.
Right, and of course, that one there going north of town used to be an old state road, so state roads really vary greatly just on the road itself. Township or county roads seem to be pretty consistent, you know, what was put for county roads, but as far as state right-of-way stuff, it really does vary a lot. and
Even
stuff.
if there's some of those that we can't locate, we should be still safe to go the 33
We
feet from
we
the
should
center
at least
road.
be able to go 33 feet, yeah,
From the center,
from the center road and stuff, so,
Yeah.
on the ones that we can't find,
right.
yeah.
As far as coming up, I will be attending, I did attend, I guess, Hamlin County weed meeting on Wednesday. I will be attending the Grant County tomorrow, and next week Brookings and Dual County and stuff. And I did advise, I guess, in Hamlin County, that is probably the most where they asked about the gopher poisoning, and I did comment to them that they will be no longer available, and I did say to them that elevators are handling the strychnine and stuff, so,
And the good stuff,
and the good
the
stuff.
good stuff,
Yep.
that's right. Yep.
I guess that's mostly what I have to report on.
Anything else for Steve? I do have one, that attaboy deal. I was leaving the weed meeting the other night, and I got out the door, I was out in the parking lot, and someone hollered at me, and I thought, oh, now what's going on? Anyway, it was a gentleman, and he's from Hamlin County, and he just said, I just want to commend you commissioners, you and the commission staff, and I said, don't commend us on how nice it is to come to a meeting at Cotton County Extension Facility. He said it is clean. He said it is just a pleasure to come in here. He said it's bright. He said the floors are spotless. And I said, well, that's our custodians and our custodian people that take care of that now. There's no one here. Milo's
Milo
here.
just got
Be sure and pass it on to those folks out there that those types of things are recognized by our out-of-county people. And I said, I really appreciate that. And he said, you don't know how much we appreciate that. And so hats off to you. And I know Steve's been working out there over the winter. But
Yeah, and this winter probably not quite as much as we had with other duties working on the
Yep.
right away and other things and stuff. Oh, to advise also, an update on the truck. We'll be working on the spray truck and so that probably this coming month some. The highway shop, as soon as they have some available time, they're gonna let me know, and we'll probably start working on that. And then also an update on the other truck, for the pickup that was ordered. I had stopped in about a couple weeks ago and asked them what the prognosis of the truck was, and they says, well, the plant had shut down at one period of time. It might be 8 to 12 weeks, maybe, additional. So,
additional. So it'll be a while.
it'll be a while. So,
All right.
all right.
Okay, thank you, Steve.
Thanks, Steve.
Welfare.
I believe she's at NACO.
Oh, that's right.
And it's
She's
just
in
automatic
NACO.
for me to put this on
Yep.
the agenda.
Yep,
so,
yep.
yeah.
She's in NACO. She's at the National Conference.
Yes.
That's right.
Yep.
All right, let's go on then to number 6. Action to authorize the purchase of computer equipment for the Treasurer's Office. And in your packet, you have a breakdown of what we're looking at. And if you look at the request, and then if you look at, is Carol here?
She's not here.
All right.
I can go grab her if you want me to.
Yeah, I think it's self-explanatory. It's just that at the bottom line is times 6. because she is requesting 6 stations to be replaced or updated. Go ahead, though, Cindy, can you add
And
anything?
it is a budgeted item, and she has waited until now to request replacing these workstations because of some state software upgrades that are coming for motor vehicle. So she has budgeted it. The computers themselves are $900 a piece, and the rest of the cost is for programming, installation, off-site or on-site setup. So it comes to $9,144 for the 6 workstations that are to be replaced.
Is that 9,144?
Correct.
Make a motion to
We have a
authorize
motion by
treasurer to
Hatton.
purchase her equipment.
Second
Second.
by Van Duzen. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign, motion carries. All right, let's go on to number 7. This is Milo. Just giving him kudos here for how nice and clean they kept the extension building, and now he wants more equipment, huh? Or new equipment. I think 7 and 8 are both, we'll just take care of both of them at the same time, so go ahead. We have action to approve the purchase of a carpet scrubber.
Okay, this is a replacement for a carpet scrubber that was actually purchased in, what is it, 2002? It's surpassed its expected lifetime, and it's the one that we use here in the government buildings area and also over in the detention center. It is a covered expense.
It's budgeted.
Yeah, budget expense.
What is a
sorry.
carpet scrubber?
Pardon?
What is a carpet scrubber?
That's used to scrub carpet. How about that?
Obviously. Is it a cleaner or what is
It's
it?
an extraction machine.
Okay.
You know, that you clean carpets with.
Okay. Shampoo?
I'll make a motion to approve
And
that.
according to your handout, the price $22.46.42. Is that
Correct.
correct?
Yes.
All right.
Made a motion to approve.
We have a motion by Hatton, second by Van Duzen.
Nope.
Gable.
Gable? Okay, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. So let's do number 8 then. Let's declare the old one surplus, and are you going to trade it in or what?
No, that
be
just
Oh,
will
yeah,
be,
destroy.
be destroyed.
Yeah. Motion to do that? Motion by Gable, second by Van Duzen. Any discussion?
The only thing on that, there is no resale value on that.
Sure.
It's shot.
Shot.
Yeah. All right. Anything else? Seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Milo.
All right, then we have item here, action to cancel some county liens of deceased personnel. And there's a page in your handout, in your packet, that explains the dollars that we're talking about, and they're sizable. So Cindy, you want to just fill us in?
Yeah, 2 years ago, we did this same thing. At that time, we canceled $2.6 million in county aid liens for people who were deceased. And we thought it would be a good idea to keep up on this so that we don't have a lot of outstanding things on our books that are uncollectible, basically. The total that we are canceling this time is $371,483.64. That accounts for 124 accounts that we have found that the clients are deceased and have no estate, and there is no chance of the county collecting any of this money. The high lien is $158,971.43, and that was the county paid for a heart transplant, I believe, back in the 80s. And the recipient of the heart has since passed and has no assets. So that's the high end. The low end was $6.84. It was probably somebody who needed a tank of gas or groceries from
Medication,
somewhere,
yeah.
or a prescription. Correct. So these are things like indigent burials, utilities, medical, rent, occasionally gas or groceries. And these also go back to the 1970s, when the legislature took action at that time to wipe out everything prior to 1970. So these are the things that are on the books now. We've done a lot of investigation. We've found dates of deaths. We've seen obituaries. We've checked, and the clients have no assets for us to go after. So in order to keep our books cleaned up and the Register of Deeds records cleaned up, we're asking to release these liens.
We have a motion by
Second that.
Gable, second by Hatton. Any discussion? Yes, go.
So does the Credit Collections Bureau, do they help you determine that?
They do. Some of these come from them, others that we have found on our own. Yes, yep.
Was there any other questions? The only question, or not question, but comment, apparently we go back to 1970, 1980. We didn't have the catastrophic poor relief fund at that time.
I don't believe we did.
I don't think so.
No,
I think it was.
not when we had this $158,000 claim. That was prior to the catastrophic poor relief program, I believe.
In that situation, that deals primarily with hospitalization health
County
issues.
pays the first 20 or 25,000,
Yep.
and then the pool would pay us back 90% of everything that we have to spend over that.
So now if we had a claim similar to that, that catastrophic would kick in. and-
Yes,
Yeah.
definitely, yes.
And I've sat on that board.
I would guess that is the highest claim that we have ever had. Again, and it might not have been all surgery. It could have been anti-rejection medications
Yep.
that we paid
Forward.
also.
I took the seat on that board right after I was elected 7.5 years ago, and Cotton County has not had a claim to date. And so,
Which is a tribute to the welfare director being able to direct, direct those requests for assistance elsewhere, or to identify that the applicants do not qualify for county assistance.
it's still a good investment. It's an insurance policy is what it amounts to. It's the same as the legal.
It is, and I think you will see our claim for that when we pay claims next week.
What is the dollar amount before that would kick in?
It's either 20 or 25,000.
Okay.
I can't remember right now.
Somewhere in there.
25,000 sticks in my head, and then anything we have to pay
Yeah.
over that,
25,000.
90% would be picked up by the pool.
I did submit a request for the funds for this coming year to Cindy last week, and there's a little bit of an increase, not very much in that catastrophic poor relief fund.
And every claim that is reviewed by that board before it's approved for payment to a county.
Yeah. Okay. So
We have a motion and a second, we just need to vote on the
we have a
board.
motion and a second. Any more discussion? Good discussion. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries. I will sign that today. Number 10, action to authorize a notice to bidders for the courthouse remodel, and there is a sheet in your packet that says draft copy. I don't know if you had a chance to read it. I read it here this morning and reviewed it, and it's pretty straightforward. Lee is one that authored this.
Well, it's actually,
Comes
the
from-
architects authored it
Yep.
for us, and this is just shrunk down. We took out some stuff so it would fit into a newspaper listing. So this will be the advertisement that goes into a newspaper. So this is a draft, and I changed a little bit. The one key thing to point out that it might change, oh, thank you.
Turned it on.
The key thing to point out that it might change would be the times of the bid opening and the time, and therefore the time when the bids would be due. So the bids would be due on April 10th. I'm sorry, the bids, April 10th, and that would also be the day we'd open them and read aloud. The architects recommended an afternoon bid opening. I thought we'd do it during this meeting, but they in their experience, they've found that it's, the bids are a bit more competitive. You attract more bidders if you can do it in the afternoon. So if that's the case, I have a couple more questions for him, but for today, I'm making a motion that we authorize the auditor to list for bids. The bid would be going to the papers starting next week. So we have to list, and correct me if I'm wrong, Cindy, once in the public opinion, once in South Shore Gazette, and then we
Yes,
might,
our first
then we have to do
publication
two
has
others
to
within the
be-
state.
First publication has to be in our legal newspapers, which are
Both
the
of them.
Gazette and the Public Opinion.
Yeah, so
And then
those-
law allows us to advertise anywhere else within the state of South Dakota for our second
Yeah.
notices.
And as a result of going through this process with the architects, we did kind of nail down a more final schedule, so I thought I'd show that to you so you can see how this all relates. So that's what's on the screen. It's not very exciting, but that's just, if you go down to April 10th and work back, that's where we'd open and read the bids, and that's also the due date, time to be determined, but we will either do it during this meeting or that afternoon, and we'll figure out what's likely to get the most competitive bids, and then we'll change the ad accordingly. And the other thing is just, the state's attorney probably needs to take one last glance at this ad before we publish if there's any little tweaks.
So it looks like we're going to run additional ads in those other papers.
Yeah, so you need to add, we need to run 4 ads. So we can, those are just ideas right now. So we're researching where the best place to, because we want to attract bids. I mean, that's going to get us the best deal, so.
All right, we have a motion on the floor.
No, we need a
Yeah,
motion.
Evil
Oh,
did.
okay, you did, okay.
Yeah,
I'll second that motion.
and a second by Van Duzen. Motion by Lee, a second by Van Duzen. Any more discussion? Seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We'll start advertising. We're moving forward. Do we have any claims for payment?
Nothing, I have nothing for 11 through 14.
There we go. That's what we like to see. We're moving right along to old business. Any old mature business at this time?
I can show you a picture of the render, so that came in after the meeting last week, Mr. Chairman, if that's,
Sure, put her up there.
yeah, so, well, it'll focus in a minute. But I think this is what, we showed the floor plan last week, because that's what I had, and then right after the meeting, I got this from the architect, so you can see. So keep in mind, that's the equalization office right now, so this is a much better use of that space. And then then the equalization office will be up where the clerk of courts is now, and that's also a good use of that space.
And that's looking to the north, right?
That is looking north, yeah. So that's looking from the spectator area toward the bench and that wood wall. So we talked about the colors and all that kind of stuff, but the idea is to match the dark wood tones that are already in the courthouse. The door on the left goes to the judge's chamber. The door on the right would go to a staircase that would go up to where the welfare office is now for the jury deliberation suite. So we're, the nice thing about this, you can kind of get an idea of how we're making use of that space, so.
I think a lot of people appreciated the picture that was in the paper the other day, just to give them an idea as to what
Yep.
is going to happen.
That picture's worth 1,000 words.
That's right. Bingo. All right. Anything else? Any other old business, mature business that we should look at today? How about new business? Any new business? Any new business? Seeing none, let's go to the open.
I have a few items that there could be a quorum of commissioners at. Going forward, tomorrow, there is a noon meeting for the executive board of the Republican Party. And then on Monday evening, we will be going through or discussing our setbacks on wind energy. Continue on the discussion for our ordinance at 6 o'clock at the extension,
That's the 12th.
the 12th.
Yeah.
Yep,
The 12th, yeah.
Monday the 12th. And other than that, I don't have anything
have
that could be a quorum.
Just to add, Mr. Chairman, we have a behavioral health and justice formally stepping up working group meeting on Thursday in this room at 1.
At 1 o'clock.
Oops, this Thursday, okay.
Okay? All right. That being said, we have some folks here that would wish to address the board. At this time, I know Jim Besco and Laren Bundy are here. Why don't you come on up, come forward. We'll get to you less in a minute here, shortly. So why don't you come on up and just share with us what your thoughts are?
He's here too. He's
Yes, I'm sorry. Come on
the
up.
closest person who left.
Yes, come on up.
Aaron, you want to be on?
Oh, you, no, I sit over there in Hardy's chair. You play commissioner today, Laren. First thing I'd like you to do is to introduce yourself, so talking to the microphone so that the newspaper picks us up and the radio station picks us up. While you're doing that, I'm going to take a special privilege here. We have a couple of young guests with us today, and I think we should have them introduced and be introduced. Who do we have sitting back here? No school today, so we have who? A couple of blonde-haired guys back here. What's your name?
Owen.
Owen, and what's your name?
Clayton.
Clayton. And who do you belong to? Well, it's good to have you in.
You'd never tell by looking at them, Luke, that they belong to you.
There's our future planning and zoning people right there. So thank you for coming and bear with us, all right?
It's way better than school. Yeah. So.
Yeah, no school today. All right, Jim, share with us, and we're not going to tie up all morning here. I will limit the time that you have, and so what's your thoughts? What's your concerns here?
My name is Jim Besco. I live right north of the proposed hog confinements by Brent and Rodney Zemlicka, what they're proposing to build their confined hog confinement. And we were kind of unhappy the way the meeting was handled, the information. I live right next to it, and I wasn't aware of it until Merlin Bundy called me Saturday, the day before, not the day before, but the February 24th, and the meeting was the 27th. I had gotten a letter on it, but I think the zoning office should put a little more information on it. It just said proposed concentrating feeding operations, and Zemlicka's raised a lot of cattle, and I just figured they were going to be feeding some cattle over there, so I didn't really pay that much attention to it. Until Merlin called me and told me what was going on, and then. But I'd like to have Keith Schick talk. He lives right close to it. He's the closest one to that.
My name is Keith Schick, and I live right south of Jim. I'll be about a half mile from the hog confinement. And I never received a letter at all from the commission. I didn't know about it till Jim come down and told me about it. It was a couple days before the meeting. And my biggest concern is the smell. And I was wondering if we could put something in writing to make sure they put an additive in the manure and the feed. And make sure
I'm
they're
going
do
to
it.
stop you right here. Please bear with me. You folks that are here, I admire your concerns, and we certainly want to hear your concerns. But you do realize that by state law, we as a commission do not have the authority to override the decision of the Planning and Zoning Board. So if your intent is to come and request for us to override a decision that was made by that board, it's not going to happen. The only way that you can do that, the only person or people that can do that is the court system, going through the courts. And just so I want to save your breath and save time, just so you know, if your request is for us to go back and override what the Planning and Zoning Board did, it's not going to happen here. You understand that? Did I speak out of turn, either Luke? Luke, did I speak out of turn?
Right. The mechanism by state law that says that an overturn of a Board of Adjustment decision is through circuit court.
You understand that? Just so you understand. Also, what you've shared with us so far should have been brought up at the Planning and Zoning Board. That's where that was supposed to happen, not here. Just so you understand, so we're in sync, so we know what's going on. Would you like to continue?
No, I guess if I can't change it,
It's not going to change here.
so
Yeah.
there's not more I
Thank
can
you.
do. Yeah.
Laren?
Yeah, okay. Well, that's interesting news. I guess I don't know what we can accomplish here today then. I'll just go through what I prepared anyway. There was no indication in the notification letters as to what type of CAFO was being proposed or where on the property, the 160 acres, it would be. Where it is would preclude me from building mine. The proposed site was inaccurately identified on the planning and zoning website as being on 176th Street. It is not. There was a failure to notify one adjacent landowner, Mr. Schick, as required by law. It's worth noting he is the closest homeowner. There seemed to be no knowledge of how many feed trucks would be on the haul road, no indication in the nutrient management plan as to whether grid sampling or whole field analysis would be used, no indication if manure would be applied at nitrogen or phosphorus limiting levels. The odor boundary map with lines seemingly drawn deliberately around nearby residences. It's highly suspect at best. No indication that area water districts were notified. And if I understand the ordinances, a CAFO can be built within a quarter mile of an existing home, yet a home cannot be built within a half mile of an existing CAFO. I mention this for a couple of reasons. One, it seems absurd. And two, if this ordinance is changed and this CAFO later wishes to expand, as they have indicated they probably would, subsequent barns may not be permitted because they would be closer than the half-mile residence to his residence. Corps of Engineers approval is likely required because of proposed site's proximity to a blue line, and there's no trees. Trees have been required by the zoning board around CAFOs and gravel pits for noise, dust, and odor control. It's a reasonable and minimal request in my view. And I'm not necessarily requesting that this project be denied. I had pork chops last night for dinner. I know the guys wanting to build it. They're good guys. Considered building one myself. But given the lack of detail, the inaccurate location, short notice, and improper notice, I think it's best to postpone it.
All right, that being said, to my knowledge, I can't validate anything that you have said in reference to proper procedures as far as announcement. Luke, could...
Sure, I'll address as much as I can off the top of my head. The first part about notifying adjacent landowners is just that. We notify, by ordinance, we notify adjacent landowners, and that is any property that touches it. In the case that we're referencing, Mr.
Schick.
On his property, Schick Edition is surrounded by the quarter section that Mr. Besco owns. So in that case, yes, his house is farther south than Mr. Besco's, but according to the legal description, it is somehow. Two things. Trees were not required as a condition of this. Something was stated at the meeting that board member didn't necessarily feel that at this point it was necessary. That said, it doesn't mean that it couldn't be negotiated with the landowner as to whether or not they wanted to or felt like they needed to. The portion about all road agreements, there is a time frame as far as working with the township on how to handle all roads as well. However, its time frame, county typically does not just stand back and give a year to debate. We gave us 30 days to figure out something working forward. With those trees, and then the part about the odor model, it's really hard to say. It would not be shocking if it did show that given the way that it looked, the odor model as it showed, it wouldn't be shocking if it didn't show that it was touching the houses, given that they probably placed the barn in a manner that it would try to do that. But again, I don't know. I don't know how they went about that. That would have been used out of the state's model, so I'm not sure. The main thing though is that it's not a requirement of the ordinance. It was more for information, but it was something that was discussed there at the meeting. It was handed out though.
Okay, thank you, Luke. In reference to some of the things that Laren had mentioned and so on, we just reviewed the CAFO ordinance. The Planning and Zoning Board have spent a lot of time. All producers were in Cottington County were mailed a questionnaire, and then we had public meetings to listen to requests. And to my knowledge, I don't remember seeing any of you at those public meetings to, challenge or to ask us to review certain items that you had suggested on the current ordinance.
Mr. Chair, I do want to point out, we did have meetings. We are going to have more meetings over this fall.
There will be more this, yeah, so be sure and
More opportunity there too, and if they want, we can notify them as those come up as well.
be sure and get to those meetings and share your concerns at that time, because that's why we're doing it, is so
And
that we hear you.
the way you can find out is to notify the extension and get your name on the list, so then when it comes up, you'll be notified.
Yeah, I was at one of the earlier meetings.
Okay.
There's still time.
All right, so we can't do anything here today, so Jim, I appreciate you coming in, and
Could I address it with Keith Schick's land? I mean, I dug out a farm map here in 2007, and it shows on there, right there, is his residence. It said it isn't adjacent to it. Well, I sold it to him in 2006, 6.
explain what are you showing me, what are you saying?
Well, on the map, they said his land didn't run adjacent to Zemlicka's land. And that's his land right there that runs up to the road. He owns that to there.
I
And
think
they
what-
said they just had it there.
I
or they
think
had
some
it
of
cut off.
the earlier maps, I've seen them, that they're recorded incorrectly. So that's probably just an oversight on the zoning committee, but
I think what Luke said is because your land surrounded his, that's why he didn't get notified. Is that correct? It's
No, it
because
didn't
it's
surround
surrounded?
it. I don't know why it was never on the registered deeds or where it, I know in the plot books, well, you can't go much with those plot
No,
books that they send
they're,
out. 'cause
yeah, they're not.
They're not accurate.
They're
They're not
accurate.
official, let's put it
Yeah,
that way, yeah.
But the resident, it is, Luke?
We use the equalization records data that indicates where the property lines are, is what we wind up using. It's best available data at the time. I don't, as far as what was sold and turned into, Chick Edition, going off of what data was out there, what we have. So, I don't know if there's something recorded differently out there, but sometimes crop maps don't necessarily always show it the same, but we can certainly check it out to verify that information as well. What the legal description is, but obviously if it's incorrect at the equalization, we need to figure that out too. But isn't the legal description, isn't that a 2-acre legal description?
Yeah, it's just referred to as the Schick Edition in Germantown Township, section 33, 2 acres.
2 acres.
Yeah. because there was no 2 acres there, but just the house.
Which is, it does not, this legal does not, show us where exactly it runs up to, just the Schick addition. So the Director of Equalization may have more addition on, or more information.
I do a registered deed.
I would say
Jim,
the
that-
registered deed should have a plat of Schick Edition, which
Right.
would
They'd have a
have
file
it
list.
To
listed.
see if it goes all the way up to the avenue.
Listed right there.
Yeah, it goes up to 160th
Oh, yeah,
Street.
here's the
Yeah,
legal
I'll
description.
Yeah.
work this out, too.
Okay.
What I think is relevant
There.
here is that if that is the case,
Yeah.
where
It
where that
says
plat is not correct, or that
Southwest. There's
is
no
not
way,
right, we'll
but
have
which
to do
part
it
of the
here,
Southwest?
because
The
we can't do it without
the plat
notifying
will show
things
on Schick
properly.
Edition.
So, yeah, we'll go
the
verify
exact
it, make sure,
place.
'cause
But that-
I
And
don't
that-
want to be issuing anything without the right notice.
And that was
Okay.
my point, is that I think it was probably just an oversight due to the inaccurate maps, but nonetheless, it's illegal that he was not notified, Mr. Schick was not notified, and it pretty much negates anything he did at the meeting.
We'll verify it, we'll verify it here, I'll know before I leave here today.
All right.
Another question I have, is it a distance different from a business and a residence?
Is the
Setback difference?
is the setback difference?
Well, yeah, from a residence supposed to be so many feet. Is a business different than a residence?
Same setback.
Same?
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So you know where we're at. Luke will get that information and verify that legal. And how will we notify these folks? Is there any particular?
I'll call,
Okay. Luke will call. Very good.
and then I'll have a copy of the plat.
And thank you for coming in. We appreciate it. Venturing out in this miserable weather, and at least the stock dams will be full this spring, right? When we get some runoff. Thank you.
Thank you very much, guys.
Thank you.
All right, we do have another individual here, Les McElhaney. Les, please come on up and introduce yourself so we get it picked up on the radio and the news.
Les, you want to just grab that mic and take it out? Yeah, just hold on to it.
Or just move it
Just
over
make sure
in
you
front of me?
talk into it so they can get your audio.
Yeah. Okay, Leslie McElhaney appearing here before the council, representing myself and David McElhaney. I've visited with each of you commissioners individually regarding an issue of a piece of property that was purchased on the 18th of October here in Cottington County, 1210 First Avenue Southeast. And the property was purchased the 18th of October. We proceeded with demolition of a dilapidated house that was on the property, cleared trees, had to move some utilities on the property, and then on October 31st, proceeded with a building permit to construct a new 3-bedroom, 2-bath, single-family home on the property. When I got my tax assessment notices last week, the equalization office had noted that they had, they had me assessed for a structure of $105,000. I get you the exact amount is $105,538 for a structure on the property. I called the equalization office when we had the house down. It was either on the 31st or the 1st of November. Told them to drive by the property, take a look. The house was gone, and to make sure that it got off the assessment rolls. The existing house that was there when we purchased it. They did that, but then in January 17th, they came through the property, noted that I had a structure that was completed to 70% of value as of November 1. Well, I watch Extreme Home Makeover, and they build a house in a week, but I don't think I can build one in a day. And they made what is a statement of fraud,
And if you look up the definition, I've looked at in many different dictionaries, the definition of fraud is making a statement that you know is false that has financial ramifications to either party involved. And when they made that statement on the 17th of January, they knew that was false. They knew that that was the state of the structure that day, not as of November 1. And when they backdated that, saying that that was the state of the structure November 1, then it created financial consequences of me getting a 70% structure tax bill, assessment notice. Tax bill is always to follow.
Okay, I have had a chance to spend some time with the staff in the equalization office, and they openly and admittedly said that they had made a mistake, and that structure will be removed from the assessment. And this is a normal practice, but the process, you know, you have to go through the process of an appeal, and this is a common practice, and many times over the past years, as long as I have been here, is that the Department of Equalization will review the appeals, and there will be several of them that will be taken off the appeals list before we'll see them, but they'll say that they were settled prior to the appeal day. This will be done in this case, so that building will be removed. Now, your request, I know you understand that process, Les, I think you understand that.
Yes.
Okay. The part as far as the personnel, they did admit, and nobody specifically, and I didn't quiz them or challenge them of who made that comment or whatever, but that becomes a personnel issue, and that will be handled by this commission in executive session. It has to be handled that way because it's a personnel issue. But we certainly do appreciate you bringing this to our attention, and makes us more diligent in making certain that when we handle you as customers, that we are very careful in what we tell you, and we will make certain that this gets passed on to that staff, all right?
Okay, if I get what you just said correctly, Myron, it's common practice for them to assess for a structure that isn't there?
No, that is not common practice, but it's common practice for us to review the appeals that come to us, and if there's some irregularities, for example, like if the lot was measured wrong, or if there was an appraisal that is being appealed that they take a look at and they say, yeah, we are wrong. This is an error on our part. We would remove that. You know, it'll still be on the record as an appeal, but it won't get to the appeals committee. Did I say that correctly?
You won't have to.
Mr. Chairman, if I could add. So what he's saying basically, if they recognize an error, so when you file the appeal and say, oh, this one's due to our clerical error or our mistake, then they fix it basically before the Board of Appeal. That's basically all.
It's called a recommendation, and
Yeah.
there'll be a whole list of them, anything that different people want.
Clerical error is clerical error. There also is a clerical error in this assessment. Fraud is when you make a statement knowing that it's false, that has ramifications to either party involved. When you make that statement, she knew fair and well that house was not there November 1, and made a statement in the file regarding that house was there, completed to 70% of completion on November 1. And they charged me 100% for the garage.
All right, so I think we understand what your point is and what your concerns are, and like I said before, this becomes a personnel issue, and we will deal with that in executive session, and we appreciate you coming in and sharing with us your concerns, and we will take it from here. Is that fair enough?
That's not acceptable. My clerical error is clerical error. This is an intentional act And when I confronted them about it, the gal stopped just short of saying, well, we just thought we'd send it through at 70% and think you wouldn't notice.
Mr. Chairman, if Mr. McEnany has concerns and, some documentation of his points he's making, this is probably better for executive session since it's a personnel issue.
And that's exactly what I've been saying. This is an item that we will handle in executive session, and we will. You can be assured that we will discuss this, and so we do appreciate you coming in and sharing with us what has happened to you.
Okay, will I be invited to the executive session?
No, you probably will not be invited to the executive session, but we know what your concerns are. We can handle it.
Troy, do you have
Well,
a
Les,
question?
nothing that we're aware of the problem, okay? You've talked with all of the commissioners about this. We're very aware of the issue. It is a personnel issue that we can't discuss in an open forum, and I'm sure that you understand that.
Yeah,
okay?
yeah, and I actually called Brendan and said,
Now,
do we need to discuss this in executive session?
and I think that we're getting what implications you're making here, okay? And we will look into that, and we will address that as a personnel issue.
Yeah.
But we can handle it in an open forum.
I understand
We
that.
understand that. We understand the frustration.
I request, as a taxpayer, I want to know who authorized that property that did not exist, structure that did not exist. Somebody authorized and said to assess that at 70%. 100% on the garage. I can show you that. They gave me no break on the garage. They charged me 100% for that. And they charged me for central air and furnace with central air that the property does not have. Now that is a clerical error. That's a clerical error. The other was an intent, and it was committed with fraud involved, knowing that they made a statement that was not true.
All right, thank you, Les. We have our state's attorney sitting here.
Thanks.
Is there anything that we said that's out of order that, so you're in the loop now as well? Okay, thank you for being here. Thank you, Les, for coming in. Appreciate it. Thank you for taking a chance of driving in on these miserable roads, and just drive safe on the way home, all right?
Well, I know I'm took time away from my snow removal, but
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you for
Thanks,
coming in.
Les.
Have a good day. All right, you have some information for us?
Regarding the information provided.
Why don't you step up and so,
Wasn't planning.
yeah, talking to the microphone, then,
Good morning. Todd Kays with the First Planning District in Watertown. Doing a pitch hitting for Luke right now. He took his kids home.
Yep.
Luke did go over to the Register of Deeds on the issue, and proper notice will be then provided to Mr. Schick.
okay.
And so, those of you that sit on the Planning and Zoning Board, you'll hear it again on the 19th.
Okay.
All right.
right.
Thank
Thanks,
you for doing that, Todd. Appreciate it. Is there anyone else that would like to approach the commissioners this morning? Anyone else? We're looking good there. All right. We
Sorry,
do.
Lou.
Yes. Did somebody say
So
something?
I was just going to make a motion to go into executive session under number 3.
Is that okay? That's where we're going then.
Is
Yeah, just stay.
do we also need to make a motion to go into executive session to discuss the issue with the McElhaney issue?
Oh, the personnel issues.
Personnel issue?
Personnel.
Personnel, both.
I would make that
I
motion.
want to do-
I'll add that to it.
Yep.
All right.
We have a motion by Hatton, a second by Van Duzen. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
We are in executive session. I don't think that there will be any,
There's nothing for what I've done.
no action taken after we come out of executive session, so the press won't miss out on anything. Thank you for being here, though. We appreciate you being here. And